Imagine a quiet Texas town where the unexpected suddenly shatters the peace. On a chilly January night in 1992, Kelly Dae Wilson, a vibrant 17-year-old, walks out of her job, never to be seen again. Her car, left abandoned with slashed tires, her belongings scattered inside, and not a single clue to explain her vanishing. What followed were decades of dead ends, bizarre accusations, and haunting questions. Was it a simple abduction, or did something far darker lurk beneath the surface? As we unravel the mysterious twists of Kelly's disappearance, you'll find yourself questioning how something so strange could remain unsolved for more than 3 decades. Could the answers still be out there, waiting to be uncovered? Stay with me as we dive into the most perplexing cold cases in Texas history. This is the story of Kelly Dae Wilson, and it's anything but ordinary. Join me as I share the strange, odd, and mysterious story of Kelly Dae Wilson. Kelly Dae Wilson, a 17-year-old with a bright future, lived in the small, close-knit town of Gilmer, Texas. She was known for her kindness, her infectious personality, and her enthusiasm for life. Kelly was working at Northeast Texas Video while saving money for college, looking forward to the next chapter of her life. But her seemingly ordinary night on January 5th would take a turn that no one could have predicted. That evening, Kelly worked her shift at the video store with her manager, Joe Henry. As the night ended around 8:30 p.m., Kelly left the store to make a bank deposit before heading home. According to Joe Henry, everything seemed normal as she left the store and walked towards her car parked nearby. However, Kelly never returned home that night, and no one saw her again. The next morning, Kelly's car was found abandoned near her workplace, raising an immediate alarm. Her purse and other belongings were inside the car, but the tires had been slashed. Her keys were missing, adding a layer of mystery to the situation. It was as if Kelly had vanished into thin air, and there were no witnesses to her disappearance. The town quickly became gripped with fear and speculation. What could have happened in the short time between her leaving work and the discovery of her car? Could someone have been waiting for her? As police began their investigation, they had hoped that the nearby bank's CCTV footage might provide answers. But when they reviewed the tapes, the footage was too grainy to make out any useful details. It only added to the frustration of the case that had just barely begun, but already seemed to be hitting a dead end. In small towns like Gilmer, everyone knows everyone, and the disappearance of Kelly Dae Wilson shook the community to its core. This leaves the haunting question: how could Kelly, a young girl full of promise, disappear so quickly in a small town where everyone seemed to know each other? As the investigation into Kelly Dae Wilson's disappearance began, local authorities focused on those closest to her, hoping to find some clue that could explain her sudden vanishing. In missing persons cases, it's often someone within the victim's circle who holds crucial information, and for Kelly, that meant her family, friends, and most notably, her boyfriend, Chris Denton. At the time of her disappearance, Kelly and Chris were dating, and their relationship soon came under scrutiny. Some reports suggested that the couple had a turbulent relationship, leading the police to consider Chris as a primary suspect. However, despite the suspicions and the natural inclination to focus on a romantic partner in such cases, there was no concrete evidence to connect him to Kelly's disappearance. He cooperated with investigators, and despite thorough questioning, nothing substantial was found. Chris continued to maintain his innocence even after the case went cold. He passed away in 2004 from cancer, without ever being formally charged or completely cleared in Kelly's case. Another curious figure in the early stages of the investigation was a young man named Michael Beebe. Beebe's connection to the case seemed minor at first, but one detail stood out. He was arrested for slashing the tires of Kelly's car the night she disappeared. While the slashed tires were an odd and suspicious element, Bibi denied any involvement in her disappearance and was only charged with criminal mischief for the vandalism. There was no evidence to suggest he had a deeper connection to Kelly or that he knew her whereabouts. Bibi's odd behavior certainly raised questions, but, like Denton, there was nothing tangible to hold him accountable for Kelly's vanishing. With these early leads fizzling out, the investigation struggled to gain momentum. Kelly's friends, family, and the tight-knit community of Gilmer waited anxiously for news, but as time has passed, the authorities have had little to go on. The case, which had begun with such high hopes of a swift resolution, was beginning to feel like an unsolvable mystery. As investigators continued their search for answers, one question remained. If not the people closest to Kelly, then who? Who could have been responsible for her disappearance, and why? Just when the investigation seemed to be losing all momentum, it took a bizarre and unexpected turn. In 1994, 2 years after Kelly Dae Wilson's disappearance, the case reignited with shocking accusations. The focus shifted from Kelly's inner circle to something far more sensational, a potential connection to a satanic cult. The man leading the investigation, Sergeant James Brown of the Gilmer Police Department, had spent countless hours searching for Kelly and chasing down leads. But in a stunning twist, Sergeant Brown and 7 others were suddenly arrested and charged with being part of a satanic cult, allegedly responsible for Kelly's abduction and murder. The theory, as presented by law enforcement, suggested that Kelly had been the victim of a ritualistic killing. The accusations were not only shocking but deeply divisive within the community. The charges stated that Brown and his alleged accomplices had kidnapped Kelly and sacrificed her in a cult ritual. The accusations were rooted in the hysteria of the early 1990s, when fears of satanic cults and ritual abuse swept through parts of the United States, often without much credible evidence to support them. In Gilmer, this theory split the town in half. Some believed that Brown, who had been so involved in the search for Kelly, was guilty, while others saw him as a scapegoat, targeted without justification. For months, the charges and the sensational claims dominated the media, overshadowing the actual investigation into Kelly's whereabouts. The theory was gripping, but it lacked solid evidence. As investigators continued to dig, it became clear that the claims of a satanic involvement were shaky at best. Eventually, the charges were dropped, and Sergeant Brown and the other defendants were cleared. However, the damage had already been done. The case was now tainted by controversy, and the focus had shifted away from finding Kelly. While the satanic cult theory was debunked, it left a dark mark on the investigation. It also served as a reminder of how fear and speculation can sometimes derail the search for the truth. With the cult accusations dismissed, authorities were once again left with the original mystery. Where was Kelly? The introduction of an extreme theory leaves a critical question. Had the investigation gone so far off course with these wild accusations that it missed key evidence that could have solved Kelly's disappearance? After the bizarre and unfounded cult accusations were dismissed, Kelly Dae Wilson's case began to grow cold. The sensational headlines faded, but Kelly remained missing, leaving her family and the Gilmer community heartbroken and confused. Despite the intense media attention surrounding the case in its earlier years, the investigation now struggled to find any meaningful leads that could bring it closure. In the aftermath of the cult theory, investigators attempted to regroup and refocus on the original evidence. Kelly's abandoned car with the slashed tires, her personal belongings left inside, and the grainy footage from the bank's CCTV system. These clues were revisited, but nothing new surfaced. Authorities continued to search, canvassing areas around Gilmer, re-interviewing witnesses, and looking into possible connections to other crimes. Despite these efforts, Kelly's disappearance seemed to defy explanation. One of the challenges that hindered the investigation was the sheer lack of physical evidence. With no witnesses, no apparent motive, and no new developments, the case hit a standstill. However, that didn't stop Kelly's family from pushing forward. Her parents, friends, and community members remained hopeful that she would one day be found. They collaborated with national organizations such as the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which provided age-progressed images of Kelly in the hopes of renewing public interest. But despite these efforts, the search brought no new answers. As time passed, other theories emerged. Some speculated that Kelly had been the victim of a random abduction. Others still believed that someone within her circle knew more than they were letting on. Some even wondered if key evidence had been overlooked in the rush to investigate the more sensational cult theory. With no concrete leads, however, these speculations remained just that, speculations. With the case growing colder by the year and little in the way of answers, the central question persisted. If Kelly wasn't taken by those implicated in the cult accusations, then who was responsible for her disappearance? And how could she vanish so completely without leaving a trace? As the years passed without any significant developments, several theories began to emerge about what could have happened to Kelly Dae Wilson. Though none of them have been proven, they continue to captivate the imaginations of those still hoping for answers. One of the most persistent theories involves Kelly's boyfriend at the time, Chris Denton. Though he was never charged, some people in the community have always suspected that something in their relationship might hold the key to the mystery. As is often the case in missing persons investigations, those closest to the victim are scrutinized first, and in Kelly's case, Denton's rocky relationship with her raised red flags early on. Despite this, investigators were unable to find concrete evidence linking Denton to Kelly's disappearance, and he maintained his innocence until his death in 2004. Still, for those looking for someone to blame, Chris's proximity to Kelly continues to make him a figure of suspicion in some circles. Another theory that has endured is tied to the bizarre accusations involving Sergeant James Brown and the alleged Satanic cult. Although the charges were dismissed, some people remain convinced that the cult theory wasn't entirely baseless. The sensationalism surrounding satanic rituals in the 1990s certainly influenced public perception, but the fact that such a drastic turn of events occurred at all left many wondering if there might have been more to the story than what was reported. Even though investigators later concluded that the cult claims were unfounded, the shadow of those allegations still lingers over the case. Then there are those who believe that Kelly may have been the victim of a random abduction. Small towns like Gilmer can feel insulated from dangers that plague larger cities, but they're not immune to them. The idea that Kelly could have been taken by a passing stranger, someone with no connections to her or the town, remains a plausible explanation. However, without any evidence to support this theory, it remains just another in a long list of possibilities. These competing theories continue to fuel speculation about what happened to Kelly Dae Wilson, but none of them have brought authorities any closer to finding the truth. The years have passed, the evidence has grown cold, but the questions remain. Could it be that the answer lies within one of these theories, or is there a piece of the mystery still missing that is yet to be uncovered? After more than 3 decades, the disappearance of Kelly Dae Wilson remains one of Gilmer's most haunting mysteries. Despite the early suspicions, the shocking cult accusations, and the various theories that have circulated over the years, the truth behind what happened to Kelly has yet to be uncovered. Kelly's family has never given up hope. Over the years, they have kept her memory alive, continuing to push for answers even as the trail has grown colder. Organizations like the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children have also played a key role in keeping Kelly's case active, periodically releasing age-progressed images of what she might look like today. These efforts have kept the case in the public eye, but so far no significant leads have emerged. As with many long-term missing persons cases, Kelly's story remains suspended in a state of uncertainty, a mystery. Was she abducted by someone she knew, or was she the victim of a random act of violence? Did the initial investigation miss crucial evidence while focusing on the wrong leads? These questions have tormented not only her family, but also the town of Gilmer, which has never fully recovered from the shock of her disappearance. For those still hoping for a resolution, Kelly's case serves as a reminder of how quickly lives can be disrupted and how important it is to never stop searching for the truth. The lack of answers leaves room for hope, but it also means the pain of not knowing persists. So as we come to the end of this story, one final question remains. Will the mystery of Kelly Dae Wilson ever be solved? Or is her disappearance destined to remain a true, unsolved mystery in the history in the small town of Gilmer? Hey, thanks once again for watching my video. My name is Vince. Would you please consider supporting my channel by either buying me a cup of coffee at the link below, or even treating yourself to some of the merchandise at my online shop? I truly appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this story, you might also enjoy the story of Tammy Lynn Leppert. You will find a link to that story in the upper right corner of your screen. Thank you.